Okay, right. Well, welcome everybody. Happy boiling hot Tuesday. Hope you had a great bank holiday weekend. We're here today to hear about the German market, why Germany, and more specifically, I suppose, why now. I don't know about you guys, but I'm incredibly excited for this because I want to see what life looks like beyond the UK shores. I've heard really good things about the German market, and we're delighted today to be joined by Matt Knowles and Marko Glassner. So I'm doing no presentation at all. I'm merely here to host. If you guys have any questions throughout the session, please do put those in the chat. Equally, there'll be time at the end. We're provisioning around about 30 minutes for the presentation itself, all told, and there's time at the end for questions too. So, equally, if you've got anything pertinent and you want to jump off your mute, then feel free to do that too, especially at the end. But otherwise, without further ado, Matt Knowles, over to you, and looking forward to it.
Thank you, Simon. Good morning, everyone. I hope you can all hear me, and I hope you can see my slides on the screen. Are they all visible, Simon?
They are, yep.
Perfect. For those who don't know me, I'm Matt Knowles, and I work with North Star People. We offer advisory and hands-on support as well as learning and development solutions to help agency grow sustainably. And over the next sort of 30 minutes, 45 minutes, we're going to talk about something I think most UK recruitment owners are looking at right now, and that's where they need to be looking for growth. And more specifically, we're going to talk about Germany. And I've got a genuine expert in the room with me today. Marko Glassner has built his career inside the German recruitment market, and he knows it better than anybody I've ever come across. And we'll get to Marko shortly, but first, here's the kind of the agenda we're looking at for the next 30 to 45 minutes. So I guess we're going to spend about 10 minutes with me giving you a macro introduction to why, the case for working in Germany in plain English, no buzzwords, no unprecedented synergies, just the numbers I think actually matter and what they can mean for your business. So the safest bet right now for a UK agency, given all the geopolitical nonsense that's going around the world at the moment, is a 90-minute flight from London. And in a minute, I'm going to get away, and hand over to Marko, who's going to go in depth and show you what it actually, kind of means to work in Germany, what it actually takes to win there. And then at the end, we'll have some questions. We'll open the floor up to anything you want to ask. And if we don't get to some of your questions, then obviously we'll answer them after the session. So why am I hosting this? So I've worked this market before. So actually did my first ever placement in recruitment in 1998 in Ericsson, Germany, a young Australian integration engineer called Dominic McGrath, into the hiring manager, Martin Kellner, and his boss, Klaus Nieswand. They say you never forget your first one, and I've never forgotten that, and even though it was all that time ago. I then spent the next 2.5 years supplying software engineering resources into the R&D function of Ericsson in Aachen, which is in northwest Germany, close to the Dutch border. And then 20 years later, opened an office in Dusseldorf after some clients were asking us if we wanted to, basically saying to us, if you want to increase your business with us, you need to open an office in Germany because that market's really big for us. And so we did. And we were supplying contractors across the German comms sector. I hired 2 locals out there when we opened the office. I sent a couple of people over from the UK office. One of those, really grasped it with both hands and learned German, and is still operating very, very successfully in the German market today. So there were 2 completely different sectors, different economic backdrops, but Germany rewards people who do it properly, and it quietly punishes people who treat it like a UK desk. It is not a UK desk. It is a totally different country with a totally different set of idiosyncrasies and ways of working that if you're going to do it and you want to do it properly, you need to get on board with those. So the macro case, Germany isn't booming at the moment, but it's stable. There's nowhere in the world really, I don't think, given what's going on, that's really, really booming. But Germany is stable. It's forecast by the Bundesbank to have a 0.6% growth in 2026, but the IMF are a little bit more optimistic at 1.1%, and the European Commission are saying 1.2%. You can take your pick from that range, but the picture is the same: modest growth, but positive. What you also need to understand is the German labour market, the German economy are not the same things. The headline economic numbers and the talent shortages tell two different stories. And it's the talent story that matters. There are 163 occupations which are officially classified shortage occupations by the Federal Employment Agency. To make that list, the ratio of vacancies qualified unemployed workers has to exceed a defined threshold. And there are roughly around, the registered vacancies at the end of April 2026 was 641,000. That was slightly down from its 2022 peak, but it's still a substantial market, and it's concentrated in exactly the same sectors where structural shortage exists. I'm going to let Marko go into that in more detail, but Germany right now is stable with a persistent demand in specific niches. So there is in March 2025, Germany did something it hasn't done in living memory. The Bundestag reformed a constitutional debt brake, which meant that it was allowing defence spending of 1% over GDP to be financed outside normal borrowing limits. And they approved over the next 12 years a 500 billion euro special fund for infrastructure, climate, and those two things together give you an estimated borrowing envelope of around 1 trillion euros over the next decade. So it's a borrowing envelope, and it's an authorization for German businesses to spend. It's not a single trillion euro grant. It's a projection of what they want to spend. It's authorized, and the honest caveat is because I'd rather you hear it from me than the skeptic in the audience, is that these announcements and implementation are different things. German infrastructure spending is historically underdelivered against plan, but the 2025 budget has already shifted some of the money into that infrastructure and social spending. So the capital is committed politically and legally, but the deployment pace will depend on them getting the right resources in to fuel that growth. So why is this a UK opportunity? So as we know, it's a short hop over the channel to Germany, 90 minutes. I used to, when we opened the office in Dusseldorf, I used to go there Tuesday of every week, spend all day Tuesday there. I'd arrive by 10 o'clock and would, kind of usually travel back on a Wednesday evening. So it's very doable to run a UK, either from the UK or to open an office over there and to be able to spend time in that office. We've basically only got 1 hour zone offset, which means that the working hours in the day are very similar to what we work in the UK. Also, particularly in tech, engineering, defence, and any business with international clients, there's English in the boardroom. I know, when I work with Ericsson, the management, the global language for Ericsson, a lot of these, businesses is English. Also, there's a sourcing-led approach that's in demand. Germany naturally doesn't have the headhunting approach to their recruitment that we do in the UK. there is a more kind of not it's not as aggressive as how we would approach recruitment, which means that we have an advantage when working in that market. So I'm going to pass over to Marko in a second, but as Marko will go to in greater depth, you can't run a German desk like a UK desk, which is what I said earlier in the piece. But there's lots of differences. UK desk, very fast, transactional, contingency first, speed of CV, kind of often wins the placement, and it's telephone led, and sometimes light on documentation. Germany's the opposite. It's process led. It's based on a longer cycle. The quality of the information that you give to clients and candidates is what will kind of enable placements. They communicate in written emails. There's structured engagement, and formality really matters in the German market. It's a great, having worked there three times at least over the last 20 years, I know it's a very stable market where if you do things correctly, if you follow the signals in the German market, you can have a very successful business operation. So Marko, I'm going to hand over to him now. He's built his career inside this market. So I'm going to hand over to him. Marko, are you there?
Yes, thank you very much, Matt. Thank you. Now I try to share my screen. Okay. And then my first question to the auditorium. You can see my screen? Yes, perfect. So thank you very much for your interest, and thank you also, Matt, and also Simon, that I can show you around 25 minutes a playbook for you for UK recruiters. But before we are starting, who I am Marko. I'm 50 years old, and I worked there close to 25 years in the recruitment industry. From these 25 years, I was around, I think, 14 years as a managing director. Maybe you know this company now. It's 10th Revolution Group, but I was working there in the golden areas with the Frank Recruitment Group. I built up UK business from 60 heads up to 350 people internally, like salespeople, and I was also in charge to build up the contracting business for the Frank Recruitment Group. Also, Allgeier Group is a very known company in Germany. It was the third biggest agencies in Germany. So place one was Randstad, Hayes, then Randstad, then Allgeier, and I was also at the end of my career the managing director from this company. And also, I'm really proud that I'm one of the less people on the managing director side that are in charge for all contracting types. So we have the perm business, contracting, and AÜG. This is temp business and statement of work. We come later to the point of the statement of work. So that's me. I'm based in Stuttgart. I have a half German and Swabian accent. Stuttgart is the south part of Germany. And in my point of view, I learned also a lot from you guys in the UK, as I was with Frank Recruitment Group, but we have some different rules. The one we are really, you read it if you maybe read the magazine or a newspaper, that we have a lot of bureaucracy in Germany, and this means different rules also to legal. Yeah, we have every single rule in place in Germany. Yeah, we have DSGVO, we have the ANÜ license, we have contracting rules. So this is important that you are really focused also on the rules. I know this is taking out of speed of the recruitment, but it's different that you need to work compliant in the recruitment industry in Germany, and you need the mindset for this. And this is also one of the change if I compare to the UK market. Also, the hiring tempo is slower. There are a lot of different decision makers are involved if you're hiring. We come also later to this point in detail, and also the different relationships. There are some old German agencies. They have long-term relationships on the market. And before you start to go to Europe, you need also Sure, you need to set up a legal entity maybe, or how you want to roll this out, but also which niche, which model, and which engagement, because it's all different. I would not propose that you do 2 contracting types, for example, temp business and contracting, because it's too much effort to get up the start point. And if we are going on the specialist side, this is my point of view at the moment where the most demand is. Yeah, maybe for 4 years Germany was like crazy. Yeah, in every segment, was a demand, because about the age pyramid, the baby boomers are going to pension. This is still in place, but we have also a slight recession in Germany, and in some areas like IT, is not like hiring like crazy. In some niche IT still interested, but not all, like Java. It's the same as in UK at the moment. Yeah, but we have skilled traders. We have a massive gap for skilled traders, like these blue collar or gray collar areas, yeah, because nobody wants to make his hands dirty in Germany, and also on the construction side. And we have also the legal is also still depending, and the challenge also, they need to be German, because you need the complete legal system is in Germany, and you need also then tax advisor in Germany for Germany. And this is the same with doctors, but doctors you can also hire international into the German market. So here we are now in the stage, the demand is so high of the medical that they are also taking English speakers. And if I go also to doctors, some English speakers are still there. And this is also a mind shift change in Germany. So skilled traders, we have medical, we have tax, we have construction, and also defense. Because as Matt mentioned before, we have these massive low now in Germany, and we put a lot of infrastructures. This is from construction and also in defense. Now we are building again German tanks now, and all the other defense things in Germany. So this is also important that I always would propose, if you run a business, go into the niche and also segment your contract time and also your specialism. And now we come, you know this, and also what is the difference on the perm side? Okay, the perm business, you need no license like in Switzerland. In Germany, you can directly start with perm. It goes, for the German perspective, faster than the other contracting type, that you get the return of invest, but you have also a long sales cycle because of the probation. With English, it's the unions. If a mid-level or enterprise client, the unions will always be involved, and they have always once a month a meeting, and only if they approve the hire, then you can hire the person. And you come to the hiring manager, says, no, the candidate will be drop off. You need to do this. They don't care. They don't care. They act like the governance. Then it is. So you have to wait to the union appointment, and then you can hire. This will be slow down the process. If you go to smaller companies, they have no Betriebsrat, then you have not this problem. But it depends always which company have a union or not. And normally you can say all enterprise clients have a union, and the big SME clients have also a Betriebsrat in place. Contracting, you know, it's fast. It's also at the moment more demanded on the contracting type and more sustainable, also for you business guys. But you have a massive risk of Scheinselbstständigkeit. This means in English false self-unemployment. And I can tell you by my own side, I get also sued about this point. This is a really complex point. It's like the IR35 in UK, in Germany, but much more complex. And the problem is the unions are also really strong on the government side, like it's the socialists, and they have no clear rules in place what is Scheinselbstständigkeit and what not. at the end case, always a judge will decide it. You have some points like 1/6 of the turnover from a freelancer needs to come from another company. Or this person is not allowed to take holidays because it's project-free time. And these are small things, but on the legal side are really important. There are 6 or 7 points that you need to be in place, not Scheinselbstständigkeit, because this is not only a small crime. In Germany, this is a social security tax. If you don't pay social security tax, then it's a major crime for Germany, and you go into jail. So all the MDs are really aware of this point of Scheinselbstständigkeit in Germany. Because what happened if the freelancer is not a freelancer assigned by a judge, then he's employed. But if he's working 12 months, you haven't paid 12 months the social security tax. And also you haven't paid the turnover because it's not taxed by turnover, then it's a temp runner. And for a temp runner, you have no turnover. And you see how complex this is. And this we come also to the next point. The temp is on the legal side 100% safe, but you need also a license, and it's really complicated because you have equal pay. You have to pay also the same amount as the client side, and you have a lot also of admin work here to do always. And you need your own legal entity, because also don't mix up the business models. You cannot mix up the business model contracting and temp, because it's like a virus. The legal sees, okay, if you have a contracting running and temp and something happened in contracting, then everything is infected. So you need 2 legal entities, contracting and temp. You can do contracting and perm. You can also do perm and temp, but don't mix contracting and temp. It will be strongly not recommend to do. So again, on the setup, you need to know, okay, which niche you want to go and which contracting type you know. And what is completely safe, it's statement of work. It's much more complicated, but it's also more and more demanding in Germany. And you have also different levels. And if I'm also working with clients, you have only statement of work, then you have assigned timesheet. If you're using assigned timesheet for statement of work, okay, it's gray area, because on the judge side, it will be counted as contracting, time material. Yeah, because if you are writing something above a contract, you can lift this contract as a statement of work, but in real life, it is not a statement of work. It's a normal time material contract. That statement of work, if you're working with tickets, then yes, or you are working with solutions. So you deliver something, but there's always, it depends which niche you are. You are IT, for example, construction, maybe construction will be a bit difficult, but IT, sometimes it's possible. And again, this is also massive growing, the statement of work, but it's complex, but you get also sustainable business out of statement of work. Next slide. Correct. And then still is always the question, do you need a German-speaking recruiter? Yes, I would say yes. Not only English desk. Yeah. If I compare to Switzerland, the Swiss market are completely fine with English speakers. Also the Nordics are completely fine. Yeah, because they are aware that they are smaller countries, but like the Germans, or the French, they expect German speakers. Yeah, in some areas on the freelancer side, like the IT, on the recruiting side, on the candidate recruitment side, they will accept it. But on the client side, if you have a normal sales pitch in English, it gets really difficult. So I would always prefer that you need a German salesperson. But if I compare it to my own career in Frank Recruitment Group, I had some really good German speaking, but there was English DNA. This was the strongest impact, because the mentality of the Germans, it's hard to say, the German salespersons are, not all, but a lot of are lazy. Yeah, also in a harder market, that always preferred also the English because they are much harder working. I know it's my experience from Frank Recruitment Group, but this is also advantage that you have this advantage in UK, because for me the UK market is the competitive market on the recruitment side in the world. And if you come this to a easier market like the Germans, because they are not so penetrate of the client, yeah, you get some advantage because they think, the client will be call me if they have a need. No, they will not call you directly if they have a need. Yeah, you can always get something out of a client, but still the problem is the language that we have. And so if you're hiring a salesperson in Germany, be aware that this is a strong salesperson and not these typical German key account manager salesperson who are waiting for a client call. This is a tip that I want to give to you. And we have also the retainer or contingency model. Yeah, I had a big impact on Frank Recruitment Group because we changed also the type of contracting. In Germany, you can get invoice on signature, not invoice on start date. Yeah, so you have much faster your money into your bank account, and it depends on the client and also about the level. You get sometimes 1/3 on the signature, 1/3 on the shortlist, and 1/3 on the placement, like on the medical part. Yeah, in others you can get 1/3 at the beginning or 2/3 at the end. It depends. But important thing, you get your invoice out on the signature of the candidate, and that's normal. Yeah, that's normal in Germany. Some big companies try to push this back. The backside is the payment conditions are on the enterprise side are really long. So, for example, for Bosch, Porsche, or Mercedes, you cannot negotiate this. They take it or leave it. And we have 60 days around the payment term on contracting side and also on perm side if you're working with these big enterprise clients. Now, and this is need to know. Again, we have the language, we have GDPR. This is data protection. Germany, I think, is the hardest in the world about the GDPR. And a lot of clients are asking you, where did you get my number from? Please delete me. And you get some government calls also if you are, no, stop. People will be go to the government if you are try this too hard. And then you have also some challenges. I have looked at Italy is the hardest. What is about fees? In Germany, the fees can be quite high, but I have nothing found on the internet that some judges put some fees on GDPR mistakes. But you need to be aware of it because the client will be asked you, and also some clients are working only with you together if you have your GDPR policies in place. We have the Betriebsrat, the unions, we have fees in cash, and the contracting types. This is need to know. And now some tips and tricks here. LinkedIn email in English. Response rate are roughly half of the native Germans. We have the German C-suite on the Mittelstands. They are quite easy to get on the phones normally. Normally things are you cannot call a MD or C-suite, but sometimes it's easier to get this person on a call as a hiring manager or HR on this. And again, for me, it's a no-brainer that you need a German speaker in your organization. GDPR, cold email candidates from UK, I wouldn't do. Yeah, repurpose UK consents for German outreach. Store CV without document legal basis is also important. You need to think you need to be everything to be compliance also in your own CRM system. And build a GDPR compliant German desk. Yeah, you need all the documents. You need also the policies if you have an employee contract. And also about this, the employee law in Germany. If you have a legal entity in Germany and you have over 10 people employed by your own company, you cannot fire people. Yeah, I know it's if you discuss this with US people, they are really quite shocked, but it's not possible. Also, low performer. You cannot fire a low performer in Germany because the unions are so strong, and also the judge will be say, oh, for 2 less sales calls, you cannot fire a person. This is impossible. I know we can have a big debate about, and it costs always money because the average that you get rid of a person is normally a half salary per month every year he has worked for you. And you see, if a person works for 10 years for you, and maybe this person gets $10,000, you pay 5,000 multiply 10. You pay him $50,000, and this is a minimum amount you have to pay him if you want to get rid of him. And then it depends about the lawyer, because you cannot say this in general. Marko told me it's a half a salary a month every year he worked. Yeah, if you have on the other side a hard lawyer, you pay also a little bit more, because there's also some rules in place. You have to offer him a different job, and you need some legal documentation about low performing, and it's a nightmare to get people rid of. And so be aware, if you have a right salesperson, you have 6 months time. We have the probation time 6 months in Germany, and in these probation times of 6 months, you can fire a person after 2 weeks, and only you pay the 2 weeks. But after the 6 months, it gets really hard to get people rid of in Germany. Correct. And then for me also, I would always split. We have the hiring managers. These are, from my side, the better way to go over the hiring manager, because they have the needs, and then go formal over HR. And then always the working culture is hiring manager will never do anything without HR. But then if the Betriebsrat are in place, then the Betriebsrat will be involved, and then also a final offer. The normal probation time in a German employee contract are 4 weeks. If it's higher skill, it could be 3 months, and like a tax advisor, also up to 6 months. And also mid and upper management will be also have 6 months probation time. And you pay this also extra. If you fire a person also, you pay always the probation time also on top on this. Correct. And here are some comparisons about the UK against the German reality. You see, in my point of view, the perm fees are much higher. Also, the contracting fee, a normal contracting fee around should be 15% markup on contracting side. You have the replacement guarantee. It's similar to UK. And retainer, also the RPO model is quite new in Germany. So they don't know this at the moment. And this is also a collaboration with North Star people. Paul is here, the guy who put this in place, because the Germans are not aware about RPO model. They have some TAs, freelancer TAs in place, but they're also directly then in the organization. And then they're also directly with the Betriebsrat approval direct involved. They are not so good in make active sourcing. And here again, the overview about the contracting types. We have the permanent business. Kündigungsschutz is a probation time after 6 months, notice period, and employer have also the social security side. We have the fixed term. We have the labor leasing, and we have the project work always. What you need to know. Correct. And don't place a single contractor without our own legal entity, as mentioned before, because this is our big landmine, and also the for self-employment risk. If you have, for example, a GmbH a freelancer, then it's also an indicator that maybe he will be not for self-employment risk. But still, it's a criminal serious case if you make here any mistakes. And you don't want to do this in Germany. And also, on the temp side, it's really complicated. Is the payrolling to do with all these different percentage? If he's working, if he's in holiday, what earns the same position on the client desk. And here my last slide. I don't know how I'm in time. I think I'm good. We have, I think, 9-minute time for discussion. So again, I would pick one niche. I would pick my contracting model. I would hiring a German native speaker, and I would work with a clean German database. And you need proper legal templates. And you see, I'm not a lawyer, but I would strongly recommend that you need in Germany, before you do anything, a good person who gives you legal advice, that everything is in place. I hope everybody is there. It was interesting. Now I'm open for any questions.
Okay, Matt and Marko, thank you both so much. Incredibly insightful. So we're going to get to some questions now. I'm going to, would you mind if I quickly, can everybody hear you? Can you hear me, Matt?
Yeah, good, thank you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, I can hear you. Yeah.
Cool. Right. So whoever's got their mute off, can you turn that on? You turn it
Yeah,
off.
somebody is in the, yeah, somebody should be mute. Thanks.
Yeah. Okay, cool. Right. So right, here's my summary. The ups, higher fees, no rebate fees, or at least hardly any chance of needing to pay
Yes.
rebate fees, and retained business being much more of a norm than it is over here, which is great. The downsides, the native speaker, which we'll come on to, compliance and times are higher. So the last two of those completely contradict what is a typical UK way of working, right? So I think that's quite a big thing to get over. Although
And it's
in
not so
itself,
competitive, Simon. It's not so competitive as UK. If
yeah,
I saw
yeah,
always, if I saw
we-
always the KPIs with my UK colleague, the MD, and what I saw my own sales KPIs, that was much lower, and we had higher fees and more volume than the UK market in the board meetings.
Okay, cool. Well, look, if you don't mind, we're going to come on to we'll get through them kind of quickly as possible. I've just written a ton of questions, which hopefully speak for other people, but there are some in the chat as well. So quickly picking up on the sectors, which you did mention, some of the real hot ones where there is a demand. There's also some sectors in there which arguably are the bigger sectors in this country. So it'd be good to know whether or not they also translate. So you've got media, creative, brand, those marketing box. I know I've boxed it there, but are they good sectors to be niching in Germany?
The niche is good, but the marketing at the moment I would not propose because it's extra cost. And at the moment they are really cost sensitive, the companies. And so it's a little bit difficult on the marketing side.
So if you stripped out that to mean media and brand, which are slightly out of the typical marketing sector,
Yes.
would they be sectors, if you were in your experience, if that's what I did in the UK, would that be something that I could also follow through in the German market now?
Yes.
Yeah.
And also sales always running. So there are also some agencies in place. They are doing only sales, and need always a good salesperson.
Okay, great. So on a yes or no basis, how about cybersecurity?
Oh, it was a really hot market, but now since AI is coming, it's a little bit slowed down. But the cybersecurity is still difficult to find the right candidates. On the cybersecurity, you can also do like the classic mail shots still if you have a good cybersecurity person.
Okay. What about cloud and data?
Cloud, it's too big. Yeah, if you say okay, maybe Salesforce because it's really niche, but the typical AWS or Microsoft Cloud, it's okay, but not booming like for 3 years.
Life sciences?
Yes. Yeah, pharma, life science, yes.
And renewables?
Also hot. Renewables also hot. Yes. You have some special companies like the Tenet in Germany, Amprion. It's difficult to come in to the big ones like the OEMs, but on the smaller ones, it's easier to get in.
Okay.
Because the renewables is always energy and construction. That's a little bit the same in Germany. It depends how you cluster it.
Where would you put engineering?
Engineering is difficult. You can be automotive engineering. I would not recommend to do it at the moment. Yeah, it was in the past days. Yeah, I did a lot, but engineering on the construction side, it's still hot. Also in the energy market, also engineering is good.
Okay.
But not automotive, electronic engineering, or in general not interested at the moment, not hot at the moment. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, guys, if you've got any other set, I've covered the sectors that people have asked me to cover in addition to the ones I had. If you're specialising in another niche outside of the ones we just covered, put it in the chat and we'll mention
Yes.
it. A question here, what platforms can you suggest in order to source German candidates? So we're obviously used to LinkedIn, and I'm sure there is that, but there are other platforms where
Freelancer.de. Freelancer.de.
Say again, sorry.
Freelancer.de. Fintech is, I saw the chat at the moment. SaaS was also really hot, now also slowing down as other IT also. Fintech, the bank also interested. They have still demanded, but difficult to come in because maybe you need to be under a big supplier. Maybe then you will be under Randstad or under Kelly, but you can still open the door with this. If you go to the big banks like the Commerzbank in Germany, in DIBA, they have all some tenders in place. But you can, if you have the right candidate, they will buy your candidate on the freelancer side, and also on the perm side. Helaba also possible on the perm side.
Okay, thank you. Now look, I think the biggest sort of fly in the ointment, if I were a recruiter now, would be this native speaker. And you put non-negotiable a couple of times in your slides there. Is it genuinely non-negotiable? Because that is what we've heard over time, that you need to have somebody. Originally, it was you need to have somebody based in Germany. That doesn't seem to be a thing now. But if I don't have a native speaker in my business, what do I do? Do I genuinely have to go and find a recruiter that is a native speaker, or is there another way around it? Because obviously, in any kind of email correspondence, we can just translate that. But having the conversation, how can we get over that?
So if I would recommend, I would maybe not hiring a experienced salesperson in our industry. Maybe you searching a young student who is end of the university career, maybe in Newcastle or Barcelona. It depends where you are staying, because this is also, you can build this person then with the English culture, but he speaks German, and it's cheaper, much cheaper, as you hire experienced salesperson. And so you can still build up your business out of UK with a German speaker, because they are in London, Newcastle, Oxford. I think there are German speakers.
Yeah, I think just I'm picturing this working in practice where, I don't know, I'm a small recruitment business, and I don't, I'm interested in the German market, but I don't have a German speaker. Prospect of going and hiring somebody, which you just said isn't necessarily, which is great from the seniority level, but how would it work in practice for get somebody that's younger? They're not going to be having the kind of conversations with the hiring manager or the employer that I would need, right?
But you need to get him the same knowledge as UK knowledge, but he speaks German. But you need the legal things. This person has no idea about the legal thing. But I think the hard thing is the sales part on the German side, because he needs to call in German. On the legal side, you can take external advisories, but on the sales side, you need the German speakers.
Fine. Okay. Can I ask Matt a question on this? I don't want to delve too much into this, but obviously you've had experiences from the recruiter in the UK perspective, Matt. How would you advise this? Because for me, I don't know, maybe everyone's sitting here with a German speaking recruiter in their business. I don't know. But I mean, I doubt that's the case, right? So if it's before you've made your first placement, you got to get that bit right. What would you advise?
So I think there's two things to this, Simon. One of them is that, kind of going and recruiting in Germany is not an instant fix, and it takes time to actually build something there. The way that we did it, when I first worked in Germany myself, I didn't speak German. I still don't speak German. And, I back then, I think the barriers to entry were probably less, but I do think in some of the higher, management areas, there is English speaking with some of the hiring managers, especially in the tech sector. What we did was that we had someone in our organization. It's the way that we worked. Is if you want to go and work that market, are you prepared to learn the language? if you, which is what one of the guys, I think he might be on this call now, Liam, did. He went to Germany and learned the language, went to night school and did all of that. I don't, Germany is not an instant fix. I think you can approach it with an English speaker in the first, if you haven't got any German speakers, but it will take you longer, and you're going to have to do the translation of in-mails and stuff like that. So, I'm not so, part of this webinar is that, Germany's not easy, but once you get it right, there's some barriers to entry, but if you're prepared to do it properly, the rewards are there, the higher fees, the more, the longer, the faster payments, the more recurring business models, there's a lot more stability there in that market once you nail it.
Yeah, and
I know it feels like a dance around the question there. Sorry, but
no. I'm trying to get to something that maybe doesn't exist, right? Just to help everybody. But you're totally right. And actually, we shouldn't be afraid of that anyway, because the whole point is those short-term fixes don't exist anyway, right?
No.
Even in the UK. And so with fees that are on average 10% higher, that sounds like a concession that's well worth making. So Marko and Matt, is there anything else that you would like to finish with?
From me, no, just thank you, Marko, for you
guys for your interest.
Yeah, thank everyone for their interest. Obviously this will be available on, Simon will send the recording out, but if there's any questions anybody thinks of in the afterwards, please reach out to Marko and myself, and we'll be happy to help in any way and have conversations.
Great. Well, look, on behalf of everybody, Marko and Matt, thank you ever so much. That was incredibly enlightening. And to everybody here, I will be sending you an email like almost immediately once this is finished with links to Marko and Matt. So please feel free to connect with those guys directly, as Matt just mentioned. Thank you all for turning up, especially on a boiling hot day like today. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon. Matt and Marko, thank you ever so much.
Thank you very much, guys. Happy business. Bye-bye.
Thank you very, very much, everybody. Thank you, Simon.